When I was 2 months old, my biological mother, she had taken out a $25,000 insurance policy on me and tried to kill me to collect it. She poisoned me with hydrochloric acid and castor oil, fed it to me in my bottle of milk. I swallowed it, and supernaturally I regurgitated it. Once I regurgitated it, this is what you have. I grew up feeling like the very person that brought me into this world tried to take me out. In the process of this, she went to prison, and I grew up very angry, very mad. And so people would always mock me, would always joke me, would always just say nasty, just unreal things to me. And it built up more anger and more anger. And so my father, he was in and out of incarceration and was on drugs very heavily. And there was no role model at all. I just done what I saw. Basically, I was a flunky. Anything that anybody needed me to do that was violent, I was the fool. So I had joined the gangs, and in the gang, they would actually just send you on what they call missions. And you go out and you just do crazy things, such as burglarizing, selling drugs, robberies, all of the above that stem from that life. I done it. So I had gotten incarcerated. I had already had a lot, as a juvenile, I had a lot of assault and battery cases. It was when I was incarcerated was when God opened my eyes up to who He is and the revelation of who He is and the truth of His love. While I was in servitude, God, He convicted me to write about my life story. That was the only way that I could release my pain. And so all I done while I was in prison was just read and write. There was a lady that knew who I was, but I didn't know who she was. And as we met and got acquainted, she was my mother's caseworker while my mother was in prison. And so she was my student advisor. And she and I talked, and she told me, hey, I can tell you everything about your mother if you will come back to class tomorrow. And she brought me stacks of information of who my mother was. And so I took that back to the prison and read it and studied it. And the more I read about who my mother is and was, the more my heart had gotten softened that, hey, this wasn't my mother that did this. You know, it's bigger than this. It's not, my mother's not even about my mother at all. You know, it's just the enemy trying to abort a purpose, a wonderful purpose that God has for my life, using my mother at the time. I had basically just gave in and said, hey, I love my mother. You know, I've forgiven her in my heart. I want to see her one day. And when I had gotten out, the physical mailing address that I had while we was in contact with each other, I just went to see her by faith. And I knocked on the door, she answered the door, and glory was descended in that moment. And forgiveness and restoration and love and hope like never before. I went just to say, hey, look, God loved me so much. I found out about His love and how He's forgiven me. I just want to let you know verbatimly that I love you and I thank you for being my mother, and to God be the glory. The gathering was a wonderful experience to me. It was actually life-changing because there was a lot of areas that I didn't know I needed to be healed in. I'm redeeming from the marriage conference with Jim Evans how to be a father, because my wife is expecting how to be a father in the greatest level, and how to love my wife and how to love myself. God's love has been absolutely astonishing.